Greetings, magnificent souls, to the Attract Health, Build Wealth podcast, where we have open and honest discussions about ourselves. This is a place where we break down, break away, and break through codependency, allowing ourselves to attract health, build wealth, and live a peaceful life. We are tired of being sick and tired. We are tired, but we are not giving up. We know that there is something magnificent inside of us. And because we are fighting daily, hourly, and by the minute, fighting ourselves, our kids, our spouses, we have to do things differently. We have to break the cycle. We don't have a million chances. We have to be happy now. We have to find a way. So how do we do that? How is that possible? If you look around at what society is telling you, they tell you that what we're doing is impossible. Yet it's happening every single day. And it's happening through the practice and the love that we call awakening the magnificent soul. We are all magnificent souls, and these are our stories of healing. Today in episode 34, I have been thinking a lot lately about leveling up, about getting better in every aspect of my life, and why, if I'm completely honest, I might feel tremendous weight, like sometimes debilitating weight, when actually trying to take the steps that will help me get there. So I wanted to talk today about that and perhaps some strategies that have been working for me to give myself the best that I deserve, even though I'm not used to it or I'm not trained to do that or to do things to get me there. But before we get into the discussion, don't forget to let me know your thoughts about this episode, any feedback you have, or anything you'd like me to cover on future podcasts at epiphanyvault.com. Remember, you can share anonymously. It is a safe place, and I would welcome the discussion. First, just a moment to express to you my thanks to all those listeners out there that have been entering into the Epiphany Vault. In fact, I'd like to share what Joey, a listener, wrote, and he did give me permission to share this. And he says, in all my years of self-searching, recovery, addiction, and just life, period, I am waking up within and actually recognizing I've been codependent all this time. And in this awareness alone, I can walk a little more freely. Thanks, Joey, for writing in. I hope you have found strength in recognizing your codependency, and it sounds like you have. I've been there, and I know others out there that are listening or watching have as well. So thank you so much for sharing. On to today's topic. So this subject came to mind when I was reading a meditation book called The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie, and I'll link it up in the show notes or below this video. But I thought I might read the excerpt here and then discuss my thoughts about it afterwards. So here goes. She writes, "We deserve the best life and love have to offer, but we are each faced with the challenge of learning to identify what that means in our life. We must each come to grips with our own understanding of what we believe we deserve, what we want, and whether we are receiving it. There is only one place to start, and that is right where we are, in our current circumstances. The place we begin is with us. What hurts? What makes us angry? What are we whining and complaining about? Are we discounting how much a particular behavior is hurting us? Are we making excuses for the other person, telling ourselves we're, quote, too demanding? Are we reluctant, for a variety of reasons, especially fear, to tackle the issues in our relationships that may be hurting us? Do we know what's hurting us? And do we know do we know that we have a right to stop our pain, if we want to do that? We can begin the journey from deprived to deserving. We can start today. We can also be patient and gentle with ourselves. As we travel in important increments from believing we deserve second best to knowing in our hearts that we deserve the best, and taking responsibility for that. Today, I will pay attention to how I allow people to treat me and how I feel about that. I will also watch how I treat others. I will not overreact by taking their issues too personally and too seriously. I will not underreact by denying that certain behaviors are inappropriate and not acceptable to me. And that's the end of the excerpt. So there's a lot to unravel here. There's a lot to discuss. And in my opinion, a lot of what she writes here makes sense to me. Intuitively, yes, I know that I deserve the best in life. Of course, everyone does. And if someone asked you, listener, or you watcher out there, if you deserve the best that life and love had to offer, what would you answer? Most would answer yes. And if you would answer no, I think that takes a certain kind of bravery to own up to that truth. But the part that doesn't make sense to me is that why sometimes I make decisions in knowing that do not, they don't propel me forward, but only hold me back. Decisions that will never end up as the best scenario for me. And I think my codependent relationship was a good example of that. So what I'm thinking is that maybe it's not that simple. Just being deserving of life and love is just not as easy as that. And I think that's why so many of us are stuck in a codependent spiral. If we answer the first question, yes, I do deserve the best, better, and more than what I'm getting right now, but then we make decisions that hold us down or hold us back. And how does that make us feel about ourselves? Shameful? 100%. We feel shame because deep down we know what's good for us or what's bad. We know. Oh yes, yeah, we know. Then why can't we just do it? The fact that we can't leave that person, the fact that I feel like shit all the time, the fact that I just can't seem to grow a backbone. This realization is shame. And time after time, as we don't, and sometimes can't, stick up for ourselves, it only makes us feel worse about ourselves. I can tell you something that's been coming up lately here for me. As we've talked about my recovery, I have been working very hard on myself and my relationships, my goals and my ambitions. And in some of those respects, I feel like I'm hitting a wall, which makes me think, am I scared of succeeding? Am I fearful of what's on the other side of that wall? Why would that be? Is it because it's something I can't control? Or is it because I really deep down don't think that I deserve it? Deep down. I think it could be all of those things. I think in some ways codependency in all of its unhealthy iterations is kind of organized chaos. Even though deathly unhealthy, it's predictable and it wears you down. Your self-worth muscle tends to weaken and you forget how to be healthy and how to love yourself. When you get into it, most draw that sought after health and love from others, from external things, drugs, alcohol, food, etc., instead of within themselves. And as long as it took to hone that unhealthy codependent muscle, it will take time to reverse that trend, if that makes any sense at all. And that is why I think that succeeding in life, love, relationships, especially for us, may feel wrong. It's why sometimes I get nervous when I'm making those level up decisions. And going back to what the author wrote, I think that if you have listened this far in this podcast, I think you're right on track. And this is kind of talking to myself too, but be prepared to feel fear and to feel shame. That's how we got here in the first place. But I think recognizing that we have this problem is the first step. That's the first step I took on this journey. And then the next step I took was to completely immerse myself. I dove deep into books and podcasts and YouTube videos, anything about codependency and self-love. I did try to stay away from heavily kind of motivational marketing material, but I started to dissect and take stock in my life and how codependency had manifested for me. I used a journal, and I think that's what the author encourages as well. And feel free to use, if you're listening, the Epiphany Vault for that if you'd like. But I do know this. Even with my stumbling blocks now, we all deserve to level up. We deserve to feel the best for ourselves first and others second. We are all worth it. I wholeheartedly believe this for me and for you. But I am going to end this for now, and I'll see you next time. Living and loving.